Hello. Welcome to my absolute pigsty of a bedroom. Not looking too tidy, but the reason for that, I am trying to rectify a problem I have previously had. So here's a very quick story time to start off this video. Alright, wait. Let me switch hats. It's cool, right? So I live in a small town, and in said town has recently opened a shop for a brewing company. Brewing company is called XT. They're quite well known around here. They make good beer. Basically, when they opened up, I messaged them on Facebook and was like, I think it would be cool to shoot some photos of some of your products. Would you be down? They didn't reply, which is what I expected, because I send out a good amount of Facebook messages to different companies every week, asking them if they want photos, videos. As a creative person, one of the biggest goals is to turn it into a career. Now, of course, I have bigger plans for that in the future. Like I have things in place. Doing as much work as you can for small amounts of money, or even for free, or just building up a portfolio and having projects to do that you have a purpose to achieve is a great way to sort of bridge that gap between amateur and professional. Yesterday, my dad went out and discovered this brewing shop. He didn't even know it was there, and bought this. It's a beer. Focus. Yeah, it's a beer called OINK, which I think is quite fun, but it's from the same brewing company. So since he bought these, he bought 4. I think there's 2 left, and so I have 2 of these bottles, and I need to shoot these photos before he wants to drink these, and I'm going to shoot some photos. I'm going to send them off, or maybe go down there and give them the photos to this brewing company and say, this is an actual example of what I could do, and I'll give them the photos for free. They can do whatever they want with them. I'm basically trying to get a foot in the door here, trying to rectify my previous problem of the fact that they just didn't even bother to respond. So, a while ago, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, one of the photo battles that I'm currently involved in, I started this whole thing with me and 3 other friends, and now there's 4 other friends shooting photos around a specific subject every week, and we're putting them up on Instagram. Whoever gets the most votes every week wins. Last week's was product photography. I shot this photo. I actually happened to become joint first, which is quite good. I really enjoyed that process, so I thought, why not try it again and actually try and make something of it this time, including a video. And if XT don't even get back to me and don't even look at the photos, then at least we got a good video and a good photo out of it. So let's get it going. So this is the setup that we're currently working with. This is a little compartment of my bedroom, I guess, because the label's pink. I put up some pink towels. I do have a pink bed sheet, but it's really creased, and I was not going to be able to get those creases out. Camera's going to be here. I'm going to try and connect it up to my laptop. I just don't know if I have a long enough cable, because then I can take the pictures on my computer and charge the camera at the same time, because I'm on very low battery. 3 lights going on. So we have this towel pinned up against this towel. Tried to make the smallest seam I possibly could so I can get rid of it in post. We have light number 1, light number 2. I really am looking into investing in proper lights, because the current situation is not amazing. And then we have light number 3, which just adds a little bit of fill. I'm not 100% sure how this is going to go, but this is kind of what happens with every shoot. I start off with a semi-plan and I end up getting something completely different. So we'll see what happens this time. But let's get into to shooting this beer. So I let the camera charge a little bit, so now it's all hooked up. This is the setup. I know it's pretty thrown together DIY, but that's what we're working with. So a top tip for all product photography, especially when you're using a backdrop and lights that are this close to the backdrop, is always shoot wider than you think you need to. So the photo is probably going to end up being there. So I'm going to shoot out here, because I can always crop in post, and I'd rather have more to work with in post than have a better picture out of camera and less to work with in post. So that's sort of a golden rule when you're using any type of backdrop. You can always crop into the backdrop later, and I can always just extend this out in Photoshop. So give yourself that room to play with. It makes a huge difference. We're going to take one of these products and literally just bang it in and see what that gives us. So straight away, learning that we are going to have to raise this in some form. Not 100% sure how, but we're zooming in, that's where it is. So we're gonna push it further back. We're gonna try some stuff and see what happens. So we have quite a lot of wood here. Okay, here, which I think would be pretty useful. Everything else in here I can kind of get from other places, like it's not really going to serve any specific purpose because it does say on the bottle that it's kind of a woody texture, so I think it's going to work well. Okay, so we have a pretty solid number of pictures now. I did some with the glass, some with 2 bottles. Yeah, so we did a couple with 2 bottles. Constantly realizing how much work this is going to need in post, but I also got this tiny little spray bottle of water, which just gets that really nice sort of drip effect that I think works really well. So one of these spray bottles is really cheap and they're amazing to have. For that, I'm going to try and get some like really nice close-ups of these drips because I think that looks pretty sick. This is the new situation. We have a new backdrop. I have a brown backdrop now, as my sister rightly pointed out that the pink backdrop won't appeal to men as much as the beer is supposed to appeal to men. I would kind of go with the color coordinated thing. I probably will still use some of those photos, or most of them, to be fair. They are good photos. And just see what we can come up with on a similar background. I have some nuts that I feel like I might shake around sort of the base around the wood or something. I'm not sure. I'm going to see what happens. No laptop, no tripod, just going to handhold, go nice and low, see if I can get sort of an up angle, and just sort of have fun with it, see what we can nail down out of this current setup. So we have light 1, light 2, and I'm going to use my phone as a backlight because it's a little bit brighter and it's whiter than this sort of warm light that we've got going on here. And it can get lower down, it's not going to get in the way of the actual bottle, so that's what we're going for at the moment. We'll see what happens. Okay, so it's coming to the point where I want to get a little bit more destructive with this shoot, and I haven't got much time, but I want to do some sort of pouring situation into the glass, but I only want to open one of these bottles because I don't have more than 2. Oh, this is tough. It was tough to figure this out, and I still quite haven't figured it out. Okay, so the reason I said we are running out of time is because it's currently like after 4 and we are running out of daylight, and I need some light coming in from that window because these 3 lights are just not going to cut it on their own. So I have the kind of diffuser on this one. This one's just got its own like lampshade on it. I'm still backlighting with my phone because that just gives it that sort of like mighty powerful effect. It's just enough light, I think, to get that effect. So we're going to crack open this one and put the camera on a timer and see what sort of pour action we can get. I think I'm going to pour a little bit into the glass first to start us off, and then we're going to respray as well. I might just do that now. This is the setup, and we're just going to get a few pours and see what goes on. So I appreciate this isn't the best camera angle, but we're working with what we've got. But nonetheless, I'm just going to briefly talk about how I edited these photos, what I did to make the final images. So all of these green ones at the bottom are the final ones that I'm going to send off. I didn't use many of the pink background shots. It wasn't really so much about the pink background, it was just the fact that I think along the shoot I sort of just learned a bit more about how to work with the different equipment and the different the props and stuff that I had going on. So didn't end up using, this was one of the pink background shots that I did use. Funnily enough, it's actually the one that doesn't have a pink background. This was just a wood that I zoomed in on, and I actually really like this shot. I think it's nice and clean, nice and simple. Put some fade in there from Photoshop, dropped a bunch of the contrast, and then re-added that in through my tone curve. So I put my all colors tone curve. Now obviously that's already pre-edited from Photoshop, but this all colors tone curve just intensifies those colors, adds that color contrast in, which I really like, and also adds some fade into the blacks, which is really nice. So that was a pretty simple, clean edit. And then we have this shot, again, really nice and clean. This is brown background ones. I actually ended up turning into more of a bluish blackish one because I felt like that sort of served its purpose. This is the backlighting that we can see from my phone that I had, and then the woods just going on in here. Not all that much going on again, but you know, nice and clean, got those drips in there. And then I turned that, just threw a logo on there to sort of give a rough idea of what this sort of could look like should they use it for anything. The next shot, liked it because it was nice and clean, nice and simple. Get those drips in, just a really nice sort of branding image label in your face sort of shot there. A little bit more desaturated this time, a little bit more raw, a little bit less sort of vibrant. Took all the saturation pretty much out of the glass because there was a lot of blue reflecting from the phone light. There's quite a lot of blues in the lights that you get from your phone, so took all the blues out, which sort of eliminated some of this background, and then just really desaturated everything down here, and made that pink sort of really nice and vibrant, really striking. I purposely shot this to make room for some kind of logo. But then again, yeah, just went in the same tone curve. A lot of these settings were just copy and pasted across, and then some little tweaks were added per photo based on the lighting and the positioning. Turn that into this, which I think looks quite nice, quite striking. So the Animal Brewing Co., which is the company that made the beer, and then XT, which is the shop that sells it. This was when the nuts came into play, so pretty much the same as the previous photo. That looks pretty similar. I just think the nuts add a little bit more texture in that foreground. Kept this really nice lighting in the background, just the sort of that lighting from the phone almost frames it and makes it like the main dominant subject, which I think really works well. So I like this one. This was a similar photo shot wide, which again I shot to leave room for branding. Once again, some nice, very slightly out of focus in the foreground there on the nuts, and then the really sharp drips and branding going on with the actual bottle, again with this backlighting that sort of fades out, which I really like. And then I turn that into this. So added some fade, brought up the exposure of the whole image just slightly in Photoshop so that this text would pop a little bit more. On the side of the bottle it does actually say beer from the wild side, which is where I got that from. Did a drop shadow just by duplicating that logo layer and putting it behind. Color taken from the wood, so everything just sort of blends in. There's not too many colors going on, so I think that works pretty well. This is one of my favorites. So just a simple, clean, full glass, nice head on there. Top tip, if you ever shoot beer and you're shooting beer inside of a glass and you want a pouring shot, or you just want to take shots like this one, put a little bit of dish soap or washing up liquid in the bottom of the glass, and I'm talking like 4 milliliters, like really small amount, and that foam at the top will last for 5 to 10, maybe 15 minutes. So you can put the dish soap, pour it up, and that head will be just the right amount, just the right size, and it will stay like that. And you can take your photos, and then obviously don't drink it afterwards. But that's how I achieved that shot basically. Got the nuts here, got the blue backlighting going on, which I think really works well, and then I turned that into this. So we desperately tried to find the same sort of font from the label in Photoshop, but couldn't really make it work. So I did a similar thing that I did on the other one, just with an OINK text instead of the actual Animal Brewing Co. text, and then this text is also something that says on the side of the bottle. So that's where I got that from. Same color scheme, keeping things nice and simple, and that's that one. And I think last but not least, we gotta see my all-time favorite photo from this shoot, which is this one. This is one of my favorites. It's edited almost completely differently to the rest. I think it looks really solid, really clean, nice and close. Get those drips, the sharpness. I really like how this photo works with that window glass. I think is a really classic texture. So that was me shooting some OINK cask ale, I think is the proper term for this, by Animal Brewing Co. and XT Brewing. Just a really fun shoot, really good, always good to experiment, to have fun with different products. I think product photography is something I'm really getting into lately. It's really fun just to sort of see that it's actually quite possible to recreate some of these like famous advertisements that we see for different brands. It's possible to recreate those in like a corner of my bedroom with little to no gear. Definitely going to be doing more product shoots in the future. I hope we'll do another photo battle on it. Maybe we'll do it with a little bit of a twist, just because I really enjoy this. So we'll send them off. I've actually already sent the email with all those photos on. Thank you very much for watching this video. I am going to try really hard to post more on YouTube, just because I think it's a good thing to sort of flex those creative muscles as often as you can. Not just doing shoots, but video is obviously the bigger thing for me than photography. So I'm going to try and do a lot more of these in the future. I'll definitely see you there. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.